for about 15-20 minutes, half an hour if the discussion's gone very well. And then at the end of that, we will open it up to our audience for questions, and then we will allow ourselves to go on. Does that sound okay? Excellent. So, Chapka, if we could start with you, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm humbled and honored to be here, and thank everyone for taking the time to attend. It's wonderful to connect with the like-minded professionals who have a passion for bridging the business links between Iraq and Britain. Both Iraq and Britain have unique strengths and resources that, when combined, can pave the way for unprecedented growth and collaboration. Iraq boasts a wealth of natural resources, including vast oil reserves, fertile land, and a young and dynamic population, eager to contribute to the global economy. On the other side of the equation, Britain stands as a global financial hub with a strong tradition of innovation, a highly skilled workforce, and a reputation for business and educational excellence. By forging stronger business link between Iraq and Britain, we open the door to mutually beneficial partnerships that will not only stimulate economic and academic growth, but also foster cultural understanding and cooperation. This collaboration is not just about the transactions. It's about building relationships that endure and create lasting positive impacts on both nations. It has been a long journey in corporate world for me. I started with a small nursery school and have now worked in education for decades. I'm perhaps among the very few men in Kurdistan who has been able to build such a vast organization. I want to share with you the hardships we faced, the solutions we sought, and the passions that fuels our commitment to providing the best education possible for our children, and also developing the economy of the beloved nation. I first took the initiative to start my own venture and improve education in my region in 2007. At the first, it was a small project that consisted of a small nursery with just 20 students and 6 staff members. The small project is what now known as Cambridge International Schools in Kurdistan. The project, led by myself, was the first of its kind in Kurdistan, as it was the first to follow the Cambridge curriculum and bring Cambridge educational examination to the region. I'm now CEO of 5 Cambridge school branches and own and run other related enterprises. These include media production, curriculum development, and resource publishing ventures. We have offices in Erbil, Suleimania, Iraq, and now Cambridge, UK. There are approximately 5,000 students and 500 staff members. Currently, in our school, there are 500 staff members in our schools. All students are working toward achieving British-based international recognized qualifications. I still play a very active role in the running of all the schools as part of the headquarters team. I'm also still the principal of our flagship campus that holds 1,400 students. I take great joy from seeing every student succeed and receive a high level of education that was previously unobtainable in Kurdistan. These achievements were never easy. There are real challenges that the education sector in Kurdistan region faces. One major obstacle is the lack of proper training available for our teachers. In Iraq, teachers don't routinely receive teacher training such as the PGCE in UK. We understand that teachers' role is not just to impart knowledge, but to inspire and guide. To overcome this, we've invested tirelessly in training programs, both internally using our experienced senior managers and externally with organizations such as Cambridge International, Oxford Press, and UCAS. However, forging relationships and links with the UK would massively solve this issue, as it would assist us with the recruiting UK qualified teachers that have a strong knowledge and experience of teaching our curriculum. We endeavor to ensure that our educators are equipped with the latest teaching methodologies and techniques. We believe that an empowered teacher can ignite the spark of curiosity in every student. In our schools, we offer dynamic opportunities to involve our students' education. Education is not just about textbooks and exams. It's about exploration, creativity, and hands-on experiences. We've introduced extracurricular activities, from science fairs to art exhibitions, global competitions, and international summer camps. This is to ensure that our students have a holistic learning experience. These opportunities not only enhance their academic skills, but also help them discover their passions and talents. Again, business links with the UK would further opportunities for our students to gain crucial opportunity for growth. There's a lot of healthy competitions in the educational sector landscape in Kurdistan. We find ourselves in a sea of imitation rather than genuine competition. Despite facing this, we stand firm in our commitment to providing unique and enriching educational experience. We've revamped our approach, constantly innovating our curriculum and teaching methods to stay ahead of the curve. Our goal is not to imitate, but to inspire, and we invite others to join us in fostering an environment where healthy competition breeds excellence. The educational development area is ripe for collaboration as Iraq continues to rebuild and modernize its infrastructure. Britain's educational expertise can play a crucial role in ensuring the success of our projects. This not only creates economic opportunities for British business, but also contributes to the long-term development and stability of Iraq. Moreover, let us not forget the importance of cultural exchange and people-to-people connections. Strong business links facilitate the exchange of ideas, expertise, and innovations, fostering a deeper understanding between our nations. This cultural exchange is a cornerstone of building trust and ensuring the sensitivity of our economic partnerships. So, our next steps as an organization are to expand further in order for us to reach and benefit as many students as possible. Firstly, in the Kurdistan region, we immediately hope to add 2 more schools to our organization. We are also working with our local Ministry of Education to establish government-funded schools for exceptional students. This would be on a similar model to UK government-funded grammar schools. We have opened office in Cambridge to enable us to create business and educational links with the United Kingdom. We hope eventually to branch out to other countries in the Middle East and eventually Europe and UK, thus giving opportunity to as many children as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Chapka Othman, the CEO of Cambridge International School of Kurdistan. I'll now hand over to Tony Breslin, the former leader of governance at the Department for Education.
Well, just for clarification, there were 66 of us as national leaders of governance in the Department of Education. But I'll take the promotion. Yeah, I work quite a lot in school governance and with schools, but also in school improvement and educational development. And it was really interesting hearing Gaffer's introduction and your reference in particular to the challenge of doing more than just imparting knowledge, to inspire and to guide, I think were the words you used. I've done a lot of work over the years in different educational settings in different countries. I led a charity called the Citizenship Foundation for quite some time. We did quite a lot of work in a range of countries, including in the Middle East and in Central and Eastern Europe. And I guess one of the things that we were very keen to do in doing that work was that we were not arriving in those places with a model of an education system where we would say, here, this is the way to do it. Some organisations do that. I don't think as an educator that's the right way to do it. I've got a feeling that I'm going to learn a lot more from you this evening than probably you're going to learn from me. But what we can do is kind of hold a mirror up to what we're doing from our different perspectives. And something that I want to suggest is kind of generic to any education system in any country, is that education has a fundamental, both at the micro and the macro level, a fundamental political dimension. in that how we organise education and the priorities we set for education are about choices. And I don't think it would be right for any of us this evening to say, these are the choices we think you should take. What I am going to do though is just risk sharing with you some of those choices as I see them. Now, some of them I suspect will resonate in terms of where you're based and the very particular circumstances you're in. Some of them might not be relevant at all, but I think more of them are likely to be tensions that we share. We might make different choices, by the way. You might make one choice, and your colleagues in another part of the country, or in a different department, or in a different school might make another choice. But I think we need to be aware of those choices, and we always need to be thinking as educators, which choice are we making? Why are we making it? And is it the right one? And in particular, is it the right one for the children that we're seeking to benefit, or the older learners if we're talking about adult learners? And is it the right one given the skills that we've got in our teaching force and the strengths we've got in our community? So you've mentioned that there isn't a PGCE style model established to a particular degree. And you might think, well, it's a real advantage to have that. But you may have other things, you will have other things as a society that add real strength to your efforts to build a successful education. We don't have all of those. And so that's interesting. So here's my 10 areas of choice. I'm going to start with a big one and finish with a big one. Some of the others are a little bit more detailed. I think I've probably used about 5 of the 10 minutes. So
I wasn't too strict with the first part.
First of all, I think there's a tension in almost any education system between achievement or attainment and inclusion. Now, some people will say, well, what do you mean? Surely if you get everybody to achieve, everybody will be included. And that used to be my starting point. And in some senses, it's still my desire as somebody who's a teacher at heart. But actually, one of the issues I think we've had, I don't know if you can see anything similar, one of the difficulties we've had in our education system, if I look at the teaching profession that I joined 35 or so years ago, and the schools and everything else, and I look at our system now, across various governments of different complexions, we have a much stronger system. You wouldn't believe that necessarily from the newspapers, but I believe we have a much stronger system. But we have a difficulty that's come with that. The more successful we have been with the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% of young people, the more excluded the 40, 30, 20, 10% have become. And sometimes when that 10% or that 5%, that final group, when they're concentrated in certain communities or certain locations, their disadvantage is kind of baked in. And the irony is, if we just keep banging the achievement drum, we'll get more and more grades for the already successful, but actually we'll confirm the isolation of that group. I don't know if you have something like that. So that's one of my big ones. Okay, some more simple ones. We're talking a lot about school inspection at the moment. I've been commissioned to do some work on it for a major teaching union here. Do we want an inspection system that gives us a kind of quantitative sense of how well our schools are doing? Or do we want a system that's more development and support based? That's the kind of debate at the moment here. As almost every society is, we're coming out of lockdown. Again, an area of work of my own. Do we focus on curriculum catch up? Those children who would normally have done fractions in year 3, making sure now that they get it done in year 5 or whatever? Or do we focus more on social Because I've got a confidence that those children will catch up on fractions, but I don't know how a 5-year-old catches up on a year's missed play dates, because the families were not able to mix during lockdown.
I don't mean you wish
But you're going to, and you've one matter. Here's a couple of others then, I won't do the full list. Curriculum. Do we want it deep, or do we want it broad? Because actually it's really hard to have both, and what's the blend? Do we want it to be knowledge or skills? Of course we want a blend, but what is it? Do we want to focus really on teaching formal subjects or enabling young people to develop as characters and individuals? So these are all choices. And when we talk a lot about attendance now, worries about attendance, is it just about children turning up, or is it about them being engaged when they do? So, the sort of final one before the last biggie, academic and vocational. We have a bit of an issue in this country in that we tend to give a higher status to the academic than the vocational. Not all countries do that. A consequence of that is that often you end up doing a vocational course because you've not been particularly successful on an academic one. And that compounds the low status that we then accord to different things. So the choices, whatever choices you make, as you develop and grow your education system, and as we do likewise, they're kind of intensely political choices. So here's the point. Are we really interested in educational tactics? What are we going to do to make that slightly better? That's important. Or are we going to ask some profound questions about educational purpose? I don't think we ask enough about what the real purpose of education is. I don't know if you do. I suspect you do. You may do it more than us. But if you don't, I'd really encourage it. I think the purpose and why we do this stuff is what really matters.
Thank you very much. So that was Tony Breslin, one of the leaders of governance at the Department for Education and one of the leaders at the Citizenship Foundation, which obviously found out during his presentation. So moving on to Mike Wojcik, he is the CEO of the Queensberry University London Students' Union.
Okay, thank you. So I actually wear quite a few hats, and they're all education linked. Around enabling, it's enabling students. I'm not an academic, but I'm a student enabler as well. And I'll give you a quick intro before I sort of delve into some of the points. So at Queen Mary, we pride ourselves for opening doors of opportunity. We have 180 nationalities within our student body, our research body, so there's a richness of culture as well, and inspiration, to be honest, around this. So that's supporting the richness of our student body has been something that I've got a passion for, and there's some learning that's come through this around there. So again, with any education system, there's listening to the student voice as well, that's important. So our US strategic plan does that, just authentic student voice. You'll learn a lot as an educator if you're actively listening all the time as well. That's probably one of the best skills I've learned is humility and listening and just digesting as well. So that's embedding it. We support meaningful connections as well. We recognise that actually there's a host of life skills that come through education as well. Those are skills that come with you through learning, your employability as well. So your education will also create that opportunity for you to develop those skills around there. So resonating with every student fits in around those contacts as well around there. So as an institution, we have some contact points that it's more than a teacher, young person relationship. Those are the things that actually carry you through your life as well. We're active in that. And then recognising and prioritising student mental health as well as the fourth one, as well in a tough environment as well. Young people will learn better if they're equipped doing just that. So recently, I'll describe 3 projects I've been involved in. I think are really important around those 3 areas. Faith provision has been one of the areas that we've actually kind of recognised for well-being of students, and just breaking it down into not just being a kind of spiritual experience around it, which is important. There's a spiritual, there's a quiet contemplation. There's a shared one, it's a vocalization, it's song or with team leadership. Then there's the actual kind of culture that's attached to food and drink and the like as well. And the fourth fits in around sometimes we just need our own spiritual, which isn't about faith and time. And then it's about just a quiet space when we have a migraine or the like as well. So kind of recognising fifth one is just gathering people together in kind of lessons or the like as well. So they Quran or Bible lessons or the like as well. And they all play a part of faith and people read it in different ways around it. The next I described around the benefit of sport as well, physical activity, strengthens the mind, it brings you together with people as well, diversity of activity as well. So that can be through community sport program, give it a go, or the lead people again. And it fits into that kind of resonating with students, that contact as well, really important. And the third one is around developing community volunteering, because it fits within your values framework. It connects you with others, it creates the person that you're at. I'm of Polish origin, I'm bilingual. Education in the Polish community was a very important part of my upbringing. I couldn't speak English when I went to school. And I went to Polish Saturday school, was only allowed to speak Polish at home. You know, Polish history and the like, I reflected today actually, I do a lot of volunteering, I'm on 4 boards for charities. And those values I learned as a young man, the role models above me, around community volunteering they gave for sport, community activities, helping others as well, has set me for life as well. And I kind of think that important to be role model, create those frameworks, meeting like-minded people together as well. It is really critical as well. Like my next, that's my kind of university students. Tomorrow we're releasing the manifesto for Russell Group's university that are research linked university. The students' unions have collated there and again. And one of our priorities, I'm not meant to leak this, I won't say too much because it's under embargo, but strengthening the reputation of
Chatham House rules.
Yeah, for sure. There's one snippet and it will be out tomorrow as well, but strengthening the reputation of UK higher education globally. Queen Mary fits into that and it's a really important part of why we're together today. As well.
You've got a little bit of time left. You've done much better than the panellists in terms of time, but in terms of contribution, absolutely even across the board. So,
okay, well,
so we want to wrap up, or
I'll just one other project I've recently taken on is supporting autistic charity that supports autistic and people with disabilities as well. And again, that same framework comes in around not just the education for the young people, but the family, around the support it gives for the family as well. So when we stepping back and think, what is it that we're doing? We're creating skills and employability opportunities for young people, but it's that knock-on effect benefit for community. That's richness. So that's again plays an important part of enabling education. Probably stick with that for me.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. So that was Mike Wojcik, CEO of Queensberry University London Students' Union. We're now going to move on to Lord Ralph Palmer, Byron Lucas. In terms of thinking about his contribution to education, the headline here, as you can see, you've been looking at the Good Schools Guide, leading on it, openly publishing it, and things like that. So, take it away.
Well, I'm very much a critic, an observer of education, not a practitioner. So I'm with a long experience in UK education. I'm mostly interested in listening to your comments and seeing how I can respond from my experience. To pick up on some of the other things that he said, I do think teachers are the absolute core of a good education system, the inspiration and guidance you get from a good teacher. I would, if you're building a teacher training system, I would build it around that much more than building it around some theory of education. We're at constant war in this country between different styles of education and different ways of doing things. And at times we say, God, the Scots are doing so much better than we are, and just at the moment they're saying, look at the mess they're making of them. And I don't think there is a perfect answer. And anyway, you're in a different place. And I just come back from a month in Japan. British way of doing things, couldn't transplant there. A lot of ideas made, but it's a different place. And education, the teacher side of education is so important in producing a shared culture. A shared culture is what keeps a country together. A shared understanding of history, a shared ability with language, confidence, social skills, interaction with the community, as I was saying, being part of that, all those sort of things that come out of the way the school is run, and the things it covers are essentially local. When it comes to what's going on internationally, I think we are seeing something of a revolution. Universities, you can get into a British university with any sort of qualification now. They're taking students from all around the world. They're used to students who are educated in all sorts of different ways. You don't have to think, oh God, we've got to do this, that, or the other to give our kids a chance at Harvard or Oxford or wherever. In the advent of AI in particular, early days yet, the driving I talk a lot to UK companies about how they're hiring, and it's much more now skills-based hiring than qualification-based hiring. Can this person do that? And that is driving much more of an interest in very small qualifications, a month's work, to really get a grip on some aspect of artificial intelligence or whatever other skill may be required, and building a portfolio of much smaller qualifications, much less rigid, much faster moving. So I think things are going to be changing, and I think you can afford to take the best of the current ideas and not be stuck with the structures that we live with, which frankly we developed 50 years ago, struggling to get out of. So I hope you will look around and feel really confident in developing what you're doing and saying there's a lot of good to learn from in the world, but we can take our own decisions. We don't have to hate anybody.
Brilliant. And just as you do have a little bit of time, there was the point you actually started with, which I thought about, with teachers being at the core of the education system. The question that I think any country looking to develop its education system is going to ask is, what makes a good teacher? And how would you answer that? What do you think?
A real understanding of children, I think, is at the core of it, a real enjoyment of the process of educating children. This can come to people quite late in life. Some of the best teachers are people who have converted at age 40 or 50 and said, no, I want to teach now. I want to bring on young people. It's an astonishingly rewarding thing to do. It's quite hard, I think, to come straight out of university and be a teacher and just not to have seen enough of the world, not to understand how people work, and then deal with a lot of difficult teenagers. Some people absolutely come on and succeed that well, but I think it's a difficult process. I would rather see it as something that people come into later in life when they're bringing a whole range of experiences and connections and stories with them. But no, I don't think there's any magic way. But teachers who don't like kids are not fun. And I went to school in the days when teachers hit you with things if they didn't like what you've been doing. You ended up pretty bruised at the end of the day. But there were some who were just wonderful, just because the first thing they did was really, and it was absolutely clear they really enjoyed teaching you, and they enjoyed when you make progress, and they got a lot out of that interaction, and those were the best.
And so even though some of them hate you, it's the ones that inspired you that you remember the most?
Well, it was just, some of them hit you in a friendly sort of smile as they did it.
You as part of the job. Fantastic. Ron Palmer there, thank you. And our final panelist before we move to the panel's discussion, we've got Sara Salahaddin, She is CEO of Vision Education, so with an experience in the private and the state sector. So, Sara.
Thank you, Jack. It always gets difficult when you have to speak the last, and especially when you're in a room with people with educational backgrounds. So I'm happy to be here, and there are two other reasons that make me happy here today. One is to be with, to represent Kurdistan in Iraq with an esteemed, successful Kurdish lady who has made real contributions in the development of the education sector in Kurdistan. I'm really happy.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I haven't discussed anything about you.
No, you don't have to. No. I mean, as women representing Kurdistan region in Iraq, it says something. And the other reason, today, 15th May, marks the Kurdish Language Day, and also marks the establishment of Kurdistan's Teachers Union in 1962. So congratulations to all of my Kurdish and international friends who are joining us today. Thank you. I'm grateful for this invitation. Thanks to Kurdish Progress. I will try to stay within the frame of the topic, which I think, if you have not changed it, was how to achieve sustainable development through education in Iraq. I will try to give a brief explanation on how the landscape, how the educational ecosystem looks like in Kurdistan region and Iraq as a whole. For that, we will have to look at the past and then go to what's happening right now in the country. The 1980s war, Iran-Iraq war, damaged the educational system of Iraq so badly. What happened after then, 1990s, we had the Gulf War, which again hit, and I can say almost completely destroyed the educational institutions in the country. That was followed by the US-led war in 2003, which according to UN scholars, by 2005, up to 84% of educational institutions of Iraq were either burned, destroyed, or looted. And then when we had ISIS came in 2014, and of course the government drifted the focus and had to prioritize the security-related and political-related issues. Iraqi government has been allocating around 1% of their national budget for education sector, which is less than, comparing it to other regional countries, it is less than almost any country in the region. But in the last 2 years, it has reached to something between 10 to 15%, and the plan is to reach it to 16%, which is still below the standards. Right now, 2 million Iraqi school-aged children do not have access to education. And this is a huge challenge for stability and development in the country. And of course, Kurdistan region is part of it. Though there has been attempts by the Kurdistan regional government and the Iraqi government to renovate schools, construct schools, reform the education system through introducing new curriculums, but it hasn't been fundamental. Right now, Iraq needs 10,000 more schools to make sure that Iraqi children can have access to education. What's happening is there are three ways of solving this big problem. One is a short-term plan. They have a mid-term plan and a long-term plan. The short-term plan is in 2022, Iraqi Prime Minister Soudani, with the presence of UNESCO and UNICEF, introduced Iraq National Education Strategy. Well, they had realized after everything that happened in Kurdistan and Iraq, they realized that education is the key to solve all the deep-rooted, complicated, protracted political, social problems in the country. The short-term plan was to start with constructing schools and renovating schools to provide and renovate the infrastructure, the education infrastructure in the country, and to increase the national budget from 1% to 16%. This was and has been a good start to put together a Iraqi national educational strategy, which happened for the first time, I think, in the history for the last 14 to 15 years. But, of course, it needs finances, it needs political commitment, and also the support of the international community and countries who play a role in Iraq. A country like UK, who established the educational foundation for the country of Iraq in the first quarter of 20th century, has been, and there are plans to play a greater role in developing the educational system in the country. Now, with the help of UNICEF and UNESCO, and with the budget allocated by the federal government, the process of constructing schools has started. When we say constructing schools, it might sound that we only talk about buildings, which in fact we have seen and we have data that schools impact and make a difference in the lives of the students who are enrolled, who study in those schools. The midterm plan is to make a reform. There were attempts to make a reform in the education system in Iraq and in Kurdistan region as well. In Kurdistan region, it happened in 2004 after the terrorist attack of the 1st of February, when till then Kurdistan had been using the curriculum that was imposed by the Ba'ath regime, which changed in 1990s, 1991, 92 once, but the content, the core of it was still the same. And we know when in 1958, when the monarchy changed to a republic, the education system in the public sector got very strong and centralized, which left no room for any kind of amendment or change or reform or introducing an international educational system in the country. So in 2004, Kurdistan regional government, back then under the leadership of back then the Prime Minister made reforms in the curriculum of the Kurdistan region. So the midterm plan is to reform the curriculum, to update and standardize the curriculum of Iraq, which would, as you said, promote certain values like tolerance, like human rights, like women's rights, coexistence, and also the long-term plan is to connect the education to the industry. What will happen? We will produce youth and children who have the skills to find jobs. And that's of course related to eliminating migration, illegal migration, and all the other political and social issues that we are facing in the country. We as Vision Education, what we do, we have a very unique organizational model. We have private educational institutions. We own a chain of schools and universities in Kurdistan region. Our schools have service system, and our graduates score above average results when it comes to AP exams and Pearson tests. We own the first private university, Nowruz University, it's in Duhok, and a couple media institutions. what is unique about Vision education is Vision gives back all its profit, the revenue that's generated from the private institutions, to the public sector. So we exist to help the public sector. And that would eventually promote sustainable development in two ways. One, with the international curricula that we have introduced in 2004, that was the first school with an international system. And the second way is giving back all the revenues to the public sector. Till now,